All right. So I created this 7 Laws of Veterinary Mastery because I really loved this guide that was put out by a business mentor of mine. And he made it the 7 laws of business money management. And I wanted to make something that would be super helpful as well for veterinary medicine. And this is what I came up with. And it's called the 7 Laws of Veterinary Mastery. And it starts with leverage. So leverage is broken down into one-to-many ecosystems and templates. So starting with one-to-many, the idea is that you want to build algorithms on your approach to common cases. This is going to help reduce your cognitive overload and help with your clarity. So try to remember to try to systematize some of your approaches, but always remember to keep your mind open. The next thing is similar to it, but it's about ecosystems. And that is the fact that you're not meant to know everything. Use consensus statements, use mentorship, rely on specialists, and also always remember to rely on your technicians. Templates is the third arm of this, and that is that remember to lean on templates. Use templates for things like discharge instructions for all those common conditions that you run across. Also, for common symptoms, have differential diagnoses saved so you can plug those in, and that just helps you work smarter and faster. The second law is the law of communication, and I divide that into perception, connection, and structure. For perception, just remember it's hugely important to not only communicate what diagnostics you want to do, but really communicate what the value is of those diagnostics. That's going to help enormously in your patient compliance, because if a pet owner not only knows that you recommend baseline blood work for your senior pet, but they understand the why behind it, what they're going to get out of it, that is going to make a huge difference in their compliance with your recommendations. The second law of that arm of communication is connection. And that's based off of the fact that clients are going to say yes more often if they feel heard. So when you're listening to your client, remember to reflect back their concerns back to them, because by validating their concerns and showing that you're really hearing them, you're going to reduce resistance. And then structure. Structure is based around organizing your communication. So remember to prioritize your concerns. There may be a laundry list of concerns a client brings forth. So you may have to prioritize those, put some of them on the back burner for a next visit, and then prioritize the concerns that you feel like you need to address today, given the time that you have and what's most important. And then outline the diagnostics you're considering, and always remember to foreshadow your next steps so your client has a better overall picture of what they can expect and they feel better in alignment with what you're recommending. The third law is the law of magnetism, and I break that down into partner, guide, and engage. Starting with partner, try to remove judgment from your client conversations. Clients are more likely to partner with you if they feel safe with you. So you don't ever fully understand or know where your client's coming from, what are their unique circumstances. You just can't ever really fully know that. So try to remove your judgment and just outline what you recommend without judgment, and hopefully your clients will partner with you because they feel more safe. And also, as an aside to that, sometimes I've been surprised because clients were very resistant at first, and if I removed judgment and we kind of came up with like a way to move slightly forward or make some headway, then they were able to think about it and find ways to come back to your recommendations and find ways around those obstacles that have been preventing them. So they are probably listening to you. Just try to remove judgment when you talk to them. The next tenet of that is guide. When you're guiding your clients, try to explain your rationales and be transparent about your goals, and also give your thoughtful input. Sometimes this means giving your own professional advice or what you would do if they ask you, because I think your experience can bear into this, and you can really help a client feel connected. If they do ask you that, be transparent about that, while also reminding them that they have all kinds of different options they can take. And then the last part of the magnetism is to engage. Remember to engage and share your reasoning and your patient goals also with your team, because this helps foster a team partnership. And it also helps your teammates feel more involved, more energized by what they're working on. Reputation is the next law, and I've divided that into generosity, curiosity, and service. Generosity means that you should focus on service not only to your patients and your clients, but also be of service to your teammates. This helps build goodwill on both sides. The second law is curiosity. Just remember, always stay curious, look up what you didn't know, review cases that were tough, and that's going to serve you throughout your career if you just do that consistently. You don't always have time, and you may not do that with every case that was tough, but if you can do that regularly throughout your career, you're going to grow tremendously. And then there's service. Service means share what you're learning with your teammates. Don't gatekeep, because you want to have everybody be able to grow in your hospital, on your clinic, in your team. That serves everybody and helps service your patient care the best. And then the next law is the law of practice, and I break that down into identity, embody, and train. So identity means that your identity will shape your performance. So try to shift your identity from things like I don't know enough to I don't know yet, but I can find out. So find those ways to reframe your experience. And then embody is similar to that. And it basically means try to embody the clinician or the technician that you aspire to becoming. So if you are acting like that person that you want to be, you're going to find actions that align with that. And that in turn will develop your confidence. And then the third part of this is train. Train yourself to recognize patterns for differentials, next steps, and contingency plans. And the second to last law is the law of relativity, and that's divided into baseline, repetition, and expansion. So for baseline, remember that everything feels overwhelming until it doesn't, and that everybody starts at 0. So don't feel badly. And then repetition goes along with this. Mastery expands through repetition. So the first block cat is terrifying, but the 50th is going to feel much more routine. And then expansion. Remember that each case that stretches your clinical ceiling gives you opportunities to grow. So keep trying to get involved and find those cases or follow those cases that are unusual, cases that you haven't seen before. Try to grow and expand yourself. And then the last law is the law of alignment, broken down into personality, boundary, and strength. So based off personality, remember that you may love how your mentor communicates, but you're going to ultimately have to develop your own style. The next law is boundary. Boundaries protect your energy. So remember, it's appropriate that you can say things like, this requires a referral, I'm not comfortable with this, or even in your hospital setting on your team, if you're asked, for example, to take a day, to work an extra day because they're short-staffed or something, if you feel like that is really going to harm you, you need time with your family, remember to protect your own boundaries and say, I'm sorry, I'm not available. And then strength. That's the last tenet, and that is to remember to learn to lean into what you're naturally drawn to. That will serve you in terms of giving you energy, making you feel excited. And that might be like, leaning into emergency cases or leaning into dentistry and surgery. And this, what you lean into or what you're drawn into may very well change over time, and that's okay too. So I hope that you enjoyed my take on the 7 laws of veterinary mastery, and thanks for listening.